Buenas noches, México. Buenos días, mundo entero. ¿Cómo están todos ustedes? Me ando acomodando, traigo un desmadre todavía. Voy llegando. Estoy todavía en proceso de tener un poquito mejor mi setup. Ahora ya me dio calor, entonces creo que voy a prender el aire, dependiendo en cuántos grados estamos, o cuántos, sí, grados. Vamos a invitar gente. Vamos a invitar gente. Bueno, estamos lives. Vamos a ver quién más se conecta. Buenas noches a todos ustedes. Espero que estén muy bien. Yo me la estoy pasando de lo más chingón. De lo más chingón. Díganme si me escuchan bien. Quiero saber si la gente que me está viendo me escucha. Buenas noches, buenas noches. Alguien publicó algo. Y creo que fue Alex Loki. Uf. Loud and clear. DOT-CSA. ¿Cómo estás, amigo? Loud and clear? Is this loud enough? Yeah. Porque aquí somos unos salvajes. We're gonna teach you how to dispatch a truck. Lo que me dura este 12 es lo que te voy a enseñar a despachar gratis. Esta es mi paga. Esta madre sabe bien amarga. Excited for you, man. This man knows the industry. This is my boy. Esta invitación aventada, yo. Si quieres entrar. Buenas noches. Con gusto te recibimos, yo. Nada más pícale ahí a aceptar. Invita, pero una modelo. Don't think and drive. Not driving, bro. Not driving. Vamos a hablar un poquito de la industria. ¿Que no son las mismas estas coronas y las modelo? Son las mismas, ¿no? Here, me cansé, güey. Aquí anda yo también. Buenas noches.
¿Cómo estamos? What's up? What's up?
No totalmente otro sabor. ¿Qué opinas tú sobre las agencias de broker? Creo que son buenas y creo que son malas a la vez. Hoy te platico de eso. ¿Vas manejando qué, viejo?
Sí, voy para Kansas con la
Míralo. DOT.
Strong solo.
SA.
Strong solo.
¿Qué video yo?
Bien, Hector, ¿me escuchas bien?
Sí, yo sí te escucho.
What's up, Joe?
How you guys doing? How you doing, JJ?
Good.
Doing fine.
Excited for you guys. Come on board. I'm eager to witness the industry powerful message you guys have here. Awesome.
Yeah, we're just talking. Just simple conversations.
Pero qué bueno que tú subiste a bordo hoy, yo, porque estamos enseñando a la gente un poquito de despacho gratis, pero...
Hey, Hector, introduce Joe and let people know who Joe is.
Ok, a eso voy. Estamos enseñando cosas de la industria a la gente y hoy precisamente vamos a hablar de regulación. Vamos a hablar de FMCSA, DOT, quién regula, qué son las FMCSR, quién está regulado y quién no está regulado, porque hay una confusión enorme en la industria. Y qué bueno que entraste, porque para todos ustedes que nos están viendo, DOT-CSA es el nombre de la compañía de mi amigo Joe, quien es un ex oficial del FMCSA, quien es parte esencial o fue parte esencial de la creación del sistema de Safety Measurement System. Entonces, si alguien sabe de regulaciones, es Joe. Es como si tú quieres saber de chocolates y te encuentras a Willy Wonka, eso es exactamente lo mismo.
Lo bueno es que tengo la oportunidad de trabajar con Héctor también. Héctor es del otro lado del DOT en México y en Texas. So, mucho gusto para trabajar con Héctor y con JJ. Y solamente no trabajo solo, trabajo con JJ también. Somos partners y JJ son el jefe de la compañía. So, JJ también tiene mucha experiencia en este negocio que tenemos para ayudar a la gente. Con todo lo que usted vas a hablar aquí, Héctor. So, aquí
Y
estamos
aquí,
para...
y para que sepa la gente, aquí lo estamos haciendo gratis. Joe cobra como $1,000 la hora. Hoy no, lo va a hacer gratis.
Sí.
No digas cuánto cobra, no le van a querer dar un llegue. No vaya a estar viendo a su señora y le vaya a querer cobrar child support o alguna chingadera. Bueno, vámonos empezando. Espero que la gente esté sintonizando, espero que la gente esté aquí. Acuérdense que como quiera subimos videos de esa transmisión toda la semana y también en YouTube y en varias plataformas. Para empezar, Joe, hablemos de camiones. La semana pasada, el viernes pasado, hablamos básicamente de los actores de la industria. ¿Quién es FMCSA? ¿Quién es DOT? ¿Quién enfuerza? Dijimos quiénes son los brokers, quiénes son los shippers, quiénes son los carriers. Pero hay una confusión enorme para empezar. ¿Quién manda, güey? ¿Quién es DOT? ¿Quién es FMCSA? ¿Y quién es jefe de quién? Para que la gente lo entienda, ¿verdad? ¿Yo?
Sí, no. Y, en el lado del FMCSA en Estados Unidos, el DOT, el focus de DOT es solamente con los negocios que ellos tienen, es solamente safety. Sí tienen programas para hacer enforcement con el brokers y el shipping industry, pero el number one goal para FMCSA es safety. Con todo el dinero que ellos tienen con los programas federal, es safety, inspection services y investigations y accidente. Por eso hay muchos problemas en el industry con el brokers y los shippers. Y por eso hay compañías que ayudan para adelantar su negocio en esa área.
Pero vamos a empezar por lo
¿Quién,
primero.
pero
¿Quién
sí,
es la
quién es el
cabeza?
jefe?
La cabeza es
¿Quién es el
DOT,
jefe?
Department of Transportation, right?
Sí.
Departamento de Transportación regula toda la transportación. Marítima,
Oh, yes.
aérea, terrestre.
Yeah, sí.
Porque cuando uno dice, me paró el DOT, no te paró el DOT.
Okay.
Correct.
Yep.
Correcto. ¿Quién te para yo? O sea, no es DOT no te para, porque DOT no enfuerza. DOT es el Departamento de Transportación y abajo está FMCSA, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Federal
Sí.
Motor Carrier Safety Administration.
The top, la primera
You can speak in
oficina
English, Joe. Whatever is best for you.
Yeah, so
Don't worry.
the primary office is the U.S. Department of Transportation, the main office. That's under the Secretary of Transportation, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. He is the secretary of all DOT agencies. Below that DOT agency is the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, and they have their own administrator. They have their own government programs, and then they work with the states. Every state has its own state Department of Transportation, and the states run their Department of Transportations through federal tax dollars. So every DOT inspection you see out there, it's actually a federal DOT inspection because it's federal funds. So ultimately, when you get stopped by a Texas trooper, a trooper in Wisconsin or Arkansas, it is a federal DOT inspection. Correct.
It is a federal is DOT inspector, right?
Yes, it is a state inspector that's been federally certified by the federal government to do a federal DOT inspection.
Okay, entonces ya we already know that it's DOT, FMCSA, and then the states. And if a DPS stop you, that's an inspector, right? So
Correct.
who's regulated and who's not?
So in the industry, anyone that's operating any commercial motor vehicle is regulated. So as soon as you
let's start from there, bro. Joe, what's a CMV?
a commercial motor vehicle is anything that is defined as a vehicle that has a gross vehicle weight rating of 10,001 pounds or more, and that's under the definition of a commercial motor vehicle. That rule is under 49 CFR 390.5. So as soon as you operate one of those vehicles for commerce, meaning you get paid for it, now you become a commercial motor vehicle. For hire is getting paid. Even if you get paid with a hotel room. For instance, if a motor carrier tells you to transport this vehicle from one location to another, I'm not going to pay you in money, but I'm going to give you a hotel room. That's considered commerce because you're gaining money out of it. You're getting something of monetary gain. So commerce doesn't necessarily mean getting paid with dollar bills or feria or cash or whatever. It can mean something of monetary gain.
It's like an exchange of services, right? So if you exchange any type of service, it's considered commerce.
That's correct. So, for instance, if you are driving an RV, it's called a recreational vehicle. And if you go across the country, it's well over 10,001 pounds or more. And DOT does not stop them. But now, if you have on that RV that you are selling stuff on that RV, now DOT has to stop you because now you run a commercial enterprise. And DOT does stop them. There's people that do trade circuits with RVs and they go to trade shows and they sell crafts and whatever. And every now and then DOT stops them because they're considered a commercial operation. They're not doing it. They're not using that RV recreationally anymore. They're using it commercially.
What if I get paid like for packages, but my CMV or my vehicle is 10,000 pounds less?
Well, no. So the definition of a commercial motor vehicle under 390.5 defines anything with a gross vehicle weight rating of 10,001 pounds or more. But understand this: if you are in a pickup truck that's under 10,001 pounds, if you connect the trailer to it, that will bump you over 10,001 pounds. So yes, you can move packages around in a pickup truck or a van. You're under 10,001 pounds or more. But the minute that you haul something that causes you to go over 10,001 pounds, then you become a commercial motor vehicle. The other way that you can become a commercial motor vehicle is if you're hauling certain types of hazmat. So if you're
crossing state lines, right?
Excuse me?
Crossing state lines, interstate commerce.
Well, interstate commerce. So every state across the United States has adopted the federal rules for their own state purposes. In the state of Texas says by state legislature that they have adopted the federal government rules for intrastate commerce purposes. So even if you go from one state to another, most states, I would say 99% of all states have adopted the federal rules. There are some exceptions like Pennsylvania. In the state of Pennsylvania, you are exempted from the federal rules for intrastate commerce purposes under 17,000 pounds within the state of Pennsylvania. But as soon as you cross Pennsylvania into other states, you will be regulated.
So
But that's why they have to understand if you're going to haul loads across any type of state lines, you have to understand their rules and regulations, right, Joe?
You do, yes, because there's one rule under the federal motor carrier rules. It's called 49 CFR 392.2, violation of state and local laws. So regardless of whatever a state has, 392.2 will make you responsible for any rule that any state has. It's a federal rule. It's called 49 CFR 392.2.
Okay,
so for those newbies that think that they just apply for an MC and DOT, and the law only applies to them. Let's just say you live in Texas. That's not the case. If you don't understand the rules in New Mexico, because New Mexico has different rules than Texas, you're going to be responsible, and you're responsible to that individual state.
And it's very important for the newbies to understand there's lots of myths in this. Lots of newbies think that they can slap on their vehicle not for hire. Not for hire does not do anything to them at all. It's a useless piece of paper that doesn't mean anything. If a DOT inspector or a vehicle enforcement officer thinks that they're operating commercially and their plates are out of state and they see them pulling a trailer, even if they're empty, the DOT inspector will stop them and will do their own investigation. There's one rule called 49 CFR 390.3A. The DOT inspector has to identify that movement is in commerce. In order for any of the federal rules to apply across the nation, the rules have to include commerce. None of the rules for DOT apply unless commerce is determined. So in essence, what that means is when a DOT inspection gets completed, there's always a little section on that report for the bill of lading. The reason the bill of lading section is there is not because they want to know what business you're doing, but because the bill of lading establishes commerce. So technically, if the inspector does not establish commerce, then the regulation doesn't apply. So there isn't an assumption of commerce until the inspector identifies the bill of lading or what business is being done. And again, that rule for everyone is under 49 CFR 390.3A.
That's great. And that's great information. So let's talk about commerce a little bit, Joe, because a lot of people in this channel that we serve, they work with brokers and not directly with the shipper, right? And so by definition, and you're the professional, and Hector and I understand it, but there's newbies that follow us, and you're part of the WhatsApp group where we're trying to teach people about the industry. And it's just not about dispatching, it's actually knowing the industry so you can better serve your clients. What is by definition a broker? And then we'll go into a carrier, and then we'll go into like a shipper. Beth, what is a broker in the relationship when products moved? I think he left. He paused.
Está pausado. Ahorita vamos a esperar un momentito.
Okay. This is a good question that people need to understand, because there's a system called Carrier 411 that everybody needs to know, where a broker can put freight guards on you. And one of the most common things that they put freight guards on you for is that you're holding loads hostage. And so by rules and definitions, everything is applied to the state and the FMCSA law. When Joe comes back, we'll get his definition. But by the FMCSA, a broker is the middleman, essentially. They're an intermediary between the shipper and the carrier. And that means they handle all the communications. They've agreed to pay the carrier and make sure that they update the shipper. Why do they have brokers? Is because shippers don't want to handle the responsibility of vetting the carriers. They also don't have systems in place or the technology, right? But let's just say that a broker places a freight guard on you and says that you hold the load hostage. By definition, that is actually false information. false information is also considered defamation. And I'm not a lawyer, but I understand the laws. And when somebody says that you are holding a load hostage, that means you stole it. That's not the actual case because they're an intermediary and that load doesn't belong to them. Now, if the shipper declares that load as being stolen, that's something different. Okay. So if you guys ever get a freight guard in regards to that, make sure that you understand what the definition of a broker is. And by law, they're an intermediary and they don't actually own the product, so they can't actually state that because that's defamation. There it is. Back on. He's back on.
Okay. Déjame lo invito no.
Yep.
Yeah, so I wanted to make sure that you guys understand, and JJ hit the nail on the head. The definition of there's no definition for the word broker, but there is a definition under 49 CFR 390.5. Everyone should remember that rule. 390.5 has all the definitions. The definition is for a transportation intermediary.
Transportation intermediary, that means that they're just handling the communication. The loads do not belong to the broker. They didn't purchase the load. They didn't purchase the product. They didn't do any sorts from that. So even to further explain, if a broker is, there's a thing called broker coercion. Joe, I'll let you explain broker coercion and what it means. A lot of brokers try to push you to do things that they're not supposed to do, but explain what broker coercion is.
Yeah, broker coercion is the broker persuading, demanding, pushing, communicating, taking any action that causes you, the motor carrier, to violate the rules or to put yourself in a position that you're going to violate the rules. For instance, a freight guard report could technically be a broker coercion if they are threatening you with a freight guard on something. Okay, the FMCSA has a function to assist you with that, but you have to file a complaint, and you can't just go on and say, they filed a freight guard. They're not going to do that, but you have to collect your evidence. What is evidence? Communication through text, communication through any wireless or digital or electronic communication device. It could be a message on voicemail, whatever. If you can save that, and if you can clearly get something that says that shows where the broker is coercing, practicing coercion to push you to violate the rules. Again, not violating rules just now, but even in the future, then that's called broker coercion. Okay, you have a responsibility to comply with the rules. And the broker as well. The DOT number applies to the broker as well. So brokers have to apply for a DOT number in most cases. So whenever anyone applies for a DOT number under line number 31 of the MCS 150, line number 31 has their signature, and that signature says that I have knowledge of the rules and regulations. So anyone that applies for a DOT number signs their name on that form saying that they know the rules and they're going to go abide by them.
And so, an example of even further broker coercion. Let's just say that you're driving.
Let's get on track, brother, because we're working with newbies.
Yeah.
Okay, we already established who's regulated and who's not. So, Joe, who's subject to FMCSR?
Okay, so that's a good question because, again, this is where we go into applicability, and a good starting point is the regulation. Everyone here, try to take a mental note. 49 CFR 392.1 applicability. So applicability means the motor carrier, its agents, its representatives, its employees, and anyone in the mix. So if anyone has anything to do with the movement of freight, employees in the office, mechanics, the broker, the motor carrier, everyone is subject.
Like a carrier sales rep's responsible too, right, Joe?
I have a responsibility.
Can you say it again, Hector?
to be clear, someone in the office, I mean, dispatcher has responsibility, is
Correct.
subject to FMCSR, right?
Correct. Yeah, if you're a dispatcher, you have some responsibility. Now, what'll happen is the FMCSA and its agents, the state DOT, they're not necessarily going to go after the dispatcher, but they're going to use whatever the dispatcher did, the actions, and hold the motor carrier accountable for those actions. But still, if you look at a post-crash scenario and you look at fatalities, for instance, you know, you have to. Most people don't understand. There's two sides of the law. There's administrative law, and then there's criminal law. The FMCSA and the states operate under what's called administrative law, and or civil law or administrative law, and then the criminal part, that's called civil law. So what that means is some investigations can jump from administrative law, where the DOT does its investigative work because someone did not comply with the rules, and then they'll finish up their investigation and turn that over to civil and criminal authorities, who will then go and look at negligence, for instance, in a fatality. And those criminal and civil authorities will look at who didn't have responsibility in monitoring a driver's logbooks, for instance, which in this case, Hector, could be a dispatcher.
Yeah. Dispatcher, safety manager.
Yeah, there's plenty of cases. There's plenty of cases where fatalities have occurred in a post-crash scenario because of fatigue driving. So they looked at everyone. They looked at dispatchers. They looked at the broker messages. They looked at the motor carrier owner. You name it. They're going to look at everyone to see what could have contributed to that fatigue driving crash.
Okay. So now we know who's regulated, and we know who apply the regulation. So who's responsible for compliance, Joe?
Ultimately, the motor carrier is always going to bear responsibility for compliance, and the driver. Those are the two primary agents. The drivers need to understand as well that whenever they get issued their CDL, you know, they're almost like a motor carrier themselves, because they are using that license. Now, when you and I drive our Honda or little pickup truck that doesn't require CDL, that's implied public driving. But when you use your commercial driver's license, that's like an electrician exercising their professional license. So in this case here, both entities, the motor carrier is going to bear the burden, and the driver is also going to bear the burden. And in this day and age, you're going to see a lot more drivers that are going to be losing their CDLs because of these accidents that are happening.
Of course.
Yeah. Now, what will happen is there are other entities that can have some accountability, but the FMCSA doesn't necessarily have jurisdictional oversight. And what the DOT does, like for a drug and alcohol testing agent, is the FMCSA has something called a public interest exclusion, which is an acronym. They call it a PIE, a PIE. The public interest exclusion is a mandate that entity cannot be used by the transportation industry at large for any safety services. So if a drug and alcohol testing provider or a medical examiner or some sort of fleet maintenance department out there that's giving out bogus annual inspections, for instance, if the circumstances in a post-accident investigation or some sort of investigation determines that entity was not complying with regulations, the DOT at large can say, we are issuing a PIE on this entity. You can no longer use that entity. So that is a measure of enforcement as well. It may not be administrative and punitive through violations or enforcement penalties, but that is another mechanism of enforcement.
Thank you, Jay. So there,
I'm here listening, taking notes, man. Sometimes you learn something.
you learn all the time.
You learn all the time. So let's go back to like the responsibilities, and one of the things that Hector and I are always preaching is learn the rules, learn how to service yourself. There's a lot of dispatchers that don't understand the rules and put you in really bad situations. That being said, right, there's a lot of dispatchers that shouldn't be in the market, and until you actually understand the rules and regulations, maybe you shouldn't be working for a company, because you could put them in a really bad spot, and you'll be responsible for that. Most people don't.
Yeah, and I want to pick up on that. I mean, JJ again hit the nail on the head. Dispatchers should not be dispatching unless they have an idea of the drivers that they're dispatching. That's just the reality. You can't just say, I'm going to put John Smith on a trip. You have to have an idea of what that driver was doing the previous 7 days. You have to have an idea if that driver has been vetted already and if their driver qualification files were complete. You have to have an idea if that driver has met drug and alcohol testing requirements. Especially now in today's world, if it's a non-domiciled CDL driver, you have to have an idea if that driver's immigration status is current and accurate and current at the time, because California and other states are suspending thousands of CDL drivers as we speak based on their immigration status. So dispatchers have lots of responsibility now. If you dispatch a driver not knowing their status, you bear lots of responsibility, and you're going to put yourself in a very difficult spot if that situation turns into a fatality.
And that's why we're trying to teach, Joe. Like, one of the things that we've told people, and Ortega just mentioned, there's people selling dispatch courses. You can't learn all this stuff in the dispatch course. Hector and I, we want to have the movement where we're teaching people for free, but actually teaching them the rules and making sure that they understand trucking. And the more professionals we put in there that actually understand trucking, the better it'll be for the industry, in my opinion. There's a lot of companies out there that are using dispatchers that don't know the regulations, that don't know the ELD hours of service, right? They don't understand like the broker coercion laws. They don't understand how to keep your trucking company safe, or even ask the simple question is be like, do you owe any back child support, because you might and your CDL might be suspended. And if you're helping people move freight and the CDL is suspended, you're responsible if they kill somebody because you dispatched them.
They don't understand that.
They don't get it.
All these courses are bullshit. These people doesn't understand the law. And that pissed me off, because there needs to be like they need to have some kind of responsibility too, because they put drivers out there without experience.
Yeah, and I want to make sure that also I wanted to add to that, Hector. A lot of these courses are just by people that open up a regulation book and thought they can teach a course. They don't have your background in the industry. They don't have JJ's background. They don't have my background at all. They're spending thousands of dollars on these courses. Well, not.
I think
That's it. So we already knew. We already know who's regulated, who built the regulation, who enforced it, what is a CMB. But what about coverage, Joe? What's by law, by FMCSR? What FMCSR says about coverage, about insurance?
I think we might have lost him, Hector.
I'm here.
He's on. Okay, there we go. All right, good.
I was trying to explain that the courses that are out there are unfortunately they're taught by people that have no subject matter experience. They're just people that open up a regulation book, and they don't have any credibility or actual subject matter experience like what Hector and what you bring, JJ, to the group. So we're fortunate to have time in the industry. We're fortunate to have been there, done that, got the T-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's talk about insurance, compliance point. Who needs coverage? Joe?
Yeah, so the regulation under Part 387 for insurance means that anyone, so this works two ways, okay? So under state and local laws, liability is required for anyone that operates any.
I just want the people to understand. Every time I throw a question to Joe is citing FMCSR by mine. I need to read this shit.
Yeah, he's not he's a book, man. He's a
Joe's
book.
book.
Yeah, he knows the laws, the lines. I mean,
He's
he can tell you what page.
Book. He's like,
he can tell you what page.
Yeah, so can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah,
yes.
We can hear you now.
Yeah, so state and local law is the catch-all. You're going to see that if everyone here had the chance to look at every regulation cited by the DOT, the number one rule cited over 10,000 times is 392.2. It's the catch-all. So just like you can go across any state and the officer is always going to ask you for your insurance card, it's just the same across every state. So the 392.2 is where it starts. You're going to require to have an insurance card for anything you operate commercially. Now, for motor carriers that are for hire, okay, or that haul certain types of hazmat, you have to do things a little bit differently. You have to follow the form MCS 90, which is part of your MC number application process. And that's where you have to submit the forms, and then your FMCSA the FMCSA concurs with your insurance broker or your insurance agent and verifies that you have met the schedule of liability table under Table 9 of 49 CFR Part 387, your schedule of limits of liability, which start off at 500,000, 750,000. They go up to 2 million for hazmat. Okay, so that's where it starts. Again, depending on what type of freight you haul.
Okay? Yeah, let's talk about general freight, like $750,000, right?
750,000.
Yeah, 750,000. Yeah.
Yeah. So you need a million.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and the way it works is the FMCSA will generally accept two policies together that total 750,000. They just want you to have a total of 750,000 to start off with. The same thing for a million or whatever. Okay. But again, that's standard. That's standard for anyone that's going to be for hire or that hauls certain types of hazmat. So you can find that by going on Google and typing 49 CFR Part 387 and Table 1, Schedule Limits of Liability. The rule is 49 CFR 387.9. Okay? That right now is the only real thing that keeps any motor carrier from jumping into the industry. The FMCSA is doing a pretty good job at vetting your insurance. They can do it as fast as 48 hours in some cases. For most everything, they take a long time to do, but insurance vetting gets done pretty fast.
Yeah, hazmat is up to 5 million, but now some brokerages for special, like if you're hauling Nike, they require 5 million too.
So Joe, if we yeah.
Good.
What was your question, Hector?
Yeah, if we have a gap or like a problem with the insurance, can we still run?
Incorrect. If your insurance policy has a gap or anything, unfortunately, you can't run. I mean, even if your authority is still good or whatever, your DOT number, you cannot run. Even if it's 24 hours, 10 hours or whatever, if you have knowledge that there's a break in your insurance policy and you decide to run, yeah, you may get by with it. And guess what? Millions of people actually get by with it every day because
they have gaps on the authority because missed payment, problems with the insurance.
100%. I mean, that happens. That happens a lot. There's people that are running without insurance and they don't even understand.
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, you can run. You can make the choice to run, but you're not going to be doing so legally.
No, in case of a problem, you're gonna be in deep shit. I mean,
yeah,
you are. Yeah, you're gonna lose it all.
At all.
That's the number one thing. So when we were in the FMCSA, one of the biggest complaints we had were from transportation attorneys that would contact us after fatal accidents or even regular accidents. And one of the biggest things that they communicated to us was that the motor carrier's policy had lapsed at the time of the accident. So these attorneys know what to go for. They're going to go for the jugular. They're going to go for your neck. They know what to look for. They're not idiots. So you run the big risk.
Of course. So, Joe, this is a question I receive a lot. If I stop paying my insurance, how fast my the age of the MC goes to zero again?
The age of the MC goes to zero.
Yeah.
You know, uh, I hate to say this because I came from government, but government does work very, very slow. And some insurance companies are very good at updating with the FMCSA. Some are slow to do it. So it all depends on how well the insurance carrier communicates with with the DOT. It's not standard, So when I had the chance to work with the insurance team, again, it can vary. It just depends on how fast the communication is.
So
But as soon as the FMCSA gets information, they'll revoke it immediately.
so kind of, I think what Hector is getting at is if your insurance lapse and a broker sees that there's a lapse, they consider you a new authority, whether it's 1 day, 2 days, 7 days, 6 months.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah. No, that's something that I think you would be better to answer, JJ.
Yeah. So I guess Angel says that we're saying stuff that's false. Angel, everything that we've said is cited from the FMCSA law, and our buddy Joe used to work for the FMCSA for 15 years. So I don't know who you are, and I don't know what you're about. But I don't think you know what you're speaking about, bro. And I'm sorry,
or you can cite the FMCSRs.
Yeah.
Yeah, JJ, there's lots of people like Angel that are, we call them truck stop attorneys. They talk to people at the truck stop. They don't know the rules. They don't know the rules. I spent 15 years doing federal investigations for the FMCSA. I've seen it all that I could see. So, yeah, they think they know what they're saying, but they don't. So
they don't.
You just gave us good content, Joe. We're gonna start talking about truck stop attorneys.
Truck stop attorney. That was great.
That was great. Thanks, Angel.
Yeah, we dealt with Angel. We dealt with Angel, people like Angel, all the time whenever we went to motor carriers. So
I have a question about BOC 3. Okay, do the question, brother.
The BOC 3.
Yeah, BOC 3.
Okay.
Joe, if I pay my insurance, how can I check that my insurance agent filed the MC 90, MCS 90? No, it is 90.
This is how long I worked for the FMCSA. Is 1-800-832-5660. That number has been with the FMCSA for over 25 years. Their call center is out of Kentucky now, so that's the only way to find out if the insurance agent is communicating with the FMCSA.
So I can call the call center and say, "Hey, I paid my insurance 3 days ago. I wanna find out if the agent filed my insurance, right?"
Yes. Yeah. And my recommendation is if they're going to call 1-800-832-5660, that they call in the morning before noon Eastern Standard Time, because that's when the agency is on the East Coast. So because it is a long waiting time, you can wait up to an hour sometimes or more.
Right. How does your DOT get active once you put the insurance activated? I mean, DOT is immediately. I mean, you're talking about the
DOT number doesn't need any insurance to be active immediately. Yeah. So, by federal law, the application process is pretty simple, and every DOT number gets active as long as the MCS form gets completed the way it's supposed to get completed. It gets published almost immediately within 24 to 48 hours. and that's why you get a lot of people that start to contact you for products and services, because they know that the last number that was issued was 100,483.7. They're going to go through 143.8, right? So yeah, it can be done pretty fast. There's no insurance requirements for the DOT number, only the operating authority.
That's a great
This
answer.
this says my BOC3 was expired and my MC became inactive. Then we renew it and the MC activated like new. That's the first time for me.
Yeah, that's possible because they want new forwarding agents. It's very difficult. You got to keep that form active and current.
But the BOP inactive. Never heard about that, but yeah.
Maybe it's expired. Yeah, I've never heard of that. That's the first one.
First time for me. I never heard about BOC expire. Never.
It happens, Hector. It can have old and outdated information on there.
That's fine. That's a good question.
That is a good question. We're gonna have to look at it. Go ahead, question. Go ahead, user.
So let's talk about driver qualification, Joe. What is a driver qualification file?
Let me. I want to take this opportunity to talk about the elephant in the room. The biggest problem right now with driver qualification is that the industry is failing to consider the one rule that is on the news every night, and that's 49 CFR 391.11A and B for the English language proficiency. Everyone is in a rush. I know that you may be able to talk to a driver and the driver seems to understand English really, really well. I get that, but we can no longer assume that the driver is going to be able to communicate with some country boy officer from the state of Arkansas. Okay, because the regulations and the data show that thousands of drivers have been put out of service, but yet there's hundreds and thousands of motor carriers that are still hiring drivers and failing to qualify a driver under 49 CFR 391.11. They're looking at it. They're doing the driver qualification file. They're running the MVR. They're doing the background check. They're getting the medical examiner certificate. They're doing all that nice stuff, but they're failing to go under 391.11 because no one has ever really looked at that rule. That rule has been around for over 25 years. When I joined the FMCSA in 2001, that rule was there, but under that presidential administration, it wasn't enforced. There was a policy that sort of exempted motor carriers from that rule, but then under the current administration, that rule is back in place. So most people understand that a driver qualification file is very simple. You get the new driver, you get them to complete an employment application, you look at their background for DOT applicable employers, you run the MVR, you do the drug and alcohol test, everything looks great, put them in a truck, good to go. But it's not that simple because now you have to consider the drug and alcohol clearinghouse query. And if you don't do that properly, they could have tested for drugs positive somewhere else, right? So now you have a driver with a known history of past drug and alcohol use, right? So it's very important that driver qualification files be done by someone that understands the rules. And if you're hiring someone for $6 or $7 an hour to put together a DQ file together, you're going to accept lots of liability for your company. So you need to get with someone that's very familiar with the driver qualification file process. We're here to reach out to you as a resource for that. Reach out to Hector or JJ. They have great resources. They can connect you with people like me, and we can help you out in that area.
If you guys haven't added Joe, add Joe to TikTok. Send him messages. He'll respond to your messages. He has a lot of good information for everybody. This is what we're doing. We're building a community, guys, to make sure that people are coming into the industry that are safe and that are going to be productive, and we're doing it for free. And I want to stress that we're doing it for free because we understand that nobody should be paying for these type of courses. And we need to help.
And, no,
We
and
need to help
nobody
each
can
other.
pay for this kind of course, brother. Nobody can
No.
pay. I mean, this
No,
knowledge.
no.
I will do anything for have this live 15 years ago.
So user asked one question. He says the MVR reports, do they need to be digitally reported, Joe?
No. So everyone needs to understand here that under the Bill Clinton administration, he signed something called the Electronic Authorization Act that allows data to be issued, created, and completed, stored electronically. So what does that mean? That means that anything can be communicated, completed, and whatever you can do and maintain it electronically. I think that was a question, right, JJ?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So as long as you get what is called a report that is called a SID list report, CDLIS, Commercial Driver's License Information System. Ask the provider, is this a SID list generated report? Okay? Because there's various data brokers out there that will resell state MVR data, but they're selling junk data out there because not every MVR report is good enough for DOT purposes of a driver qualification file. The background investigation inquiry section of the DOT regulations is 49 CFR 391.23A. You have to look at their MVR report from their state driver's license agency. And the only report that'll qualify with that for CDL drivers is a CDLIS report. Now, remember, if you have to use a non-CDL driver, okay, you still have to do an MVR for that. You do not need a CDLIS report for a non-CDL driver. You can get any regular MVR report for a non-CDL driver, but please understand that this also applies to non-CDL drivers. So if you have to use a non-CDL vehicle that's over 10,001 pounds or more, you're still required to maintain a driver qualification file, just like you would for a CDL driver.
Let's talk about basic qualification for a driver, for a CMB driver. Because people think,
Hector, before that, I want to answer Ray. Ray, the system's broken. The FMCSA is broken, and the brokers, they don't want to hold liability, so they don't ask questions. And then there's things called broker coercion. We talked about it earlier. Hector's going to be releasing the video. You could look at what broker coercion is. There's a lot of laws that you could actually protect yourself with if you actually understand what the FMCSA states.
Ray, you can wait until the end. At the end, we're gonna run some Q&A. But right now, we need to stay on track.
Yep.
Joe, basic driver qualifications for a CMB driver, because people think if the driver has a CDL, that's good enough. Joe's pause.
So everyone needs to understand this. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, but we were talking about driver qualification, basic qualifications for a CMB driver. CDL is not enough, right?
Yeah, CDL it's not enough because there is something called a road test that's under 49 CFR 391.31. Now, the way it worked in the past was everyone had what was called a chauffeur license. And when the chauffeur license went away, there wasn't lots of DMV examiners out there that would test a driver in different vehicles. So the road test rule came about, and the road test rule says to give the driver a road test in the vehicle in which they will be assigned. Now, everyone knows that a Peterbilt can change from a Mack to a Volvo. They all look the same, but each vehicle has different safety functions. Especially nowadays, some vehicles have lane avoidance, has lane departure technology that starts to pull you back into your other lane. Or the Mack may have something else as well. So what's important is to take a look again at 49 CFR 391.31 for the road test, and take a look at that and see what the road test rule says, because driver qualification is not simply enough to have a good CDL, you have to also look at what type of vehicle they're going to be operating, because in a post-accident scenario, they're going to ask the driver, were you familiar with operating the vehicle and all its features? And if the driver says, the motor carrier just stuck me in the vehicle and I don't really know how to use it, then that's going to be really bad for the motor carrier. Now,
It is.
the other problem with that as well is lots of motor carriers will just look at an MVR and say, okay, it's active, it's good, put them in a truck. But if there is a past history of drug and alcohol violation or some sort of issue on their MVR history report, then under 49 CFR 382.107, the definition for actual knowledge says that if the motor carrier has knowledge that the driver has engaged in the use of controlled substance or alcohol, then that can be a possible disqualifier. So what I'm trying to say is a valid CDL is not enough. You have to look at the history of what the MVR says. Then you have to also look, can the driver operate that vehicle in which I'm going to assign them to? Okay.
You hear yourself?
Do not overlook the MVR, because sometimes you'll miss it.
Yeah. And I want to take this a little step further to talk about another two sets of regulations that continue for both the motor carrier and the driver, and that's under the license standards and requirements. See, a CDL driver has two sets of rules that follow them for the rest of their life, or else they can lose their CDL. Many of them don't know this. In other words, the CDL test and examination continues after they get their CDL. And this is under requirements and skills and knowledge. It's under 49 CFR 383.111 and 49 CFR 383.113, skills and knowledge. Basically, the CDL driver has a responsibility to practice night driving, to practice load securement, to be able to practice speed management, to approach intersections, you name it. So what I'm trying to explain to you is, the motor carrier has a responsibility to look at the driver's performance. If the driver is getting moving traffic violations, then that means the driver is not complying by those regulations I just gave you under 383.111 and 113. So it's a complex connection of all these rules and regs. This is not just like someone getting a traffic ticket and then moving on. In the world of the DOT, all these rules connect together to hold the motor carrier and the driver accountable.
How important is having a driver qualification file on the truck?
A driver qualification file on the truck?
Yes.
No, there is no requirement for anyone to have a driver qualification file on the truck at all. Some inspectors out there, this question has come up in the past because some inspectors out there think they know the rules, but there is no requirement for any motor carrier. This sometimes happens because there's some trucking companies that open up with just one truck, one driver. So the motor carrier is going to have all their paperwork in that truck. But the regulation under Part 390.23 talks about principal place of business. All your records for driver qualification files should be maintained at your principal place of business, which is the address listed under your DOT number, your MCS 150 DOT number.
Yeah, the physical address or the physical address on the papers, basically.
Yes.
What do you think, JJ?
I have a question on the physical address on the FMCSA. A lot of questions are coming, like in people putting virtual addresses on the FMCSA, and if they put a virtual address or change the address, right, they can't get any freight. What do you know, Joe, as you're the expert, what do you know about like listing a virtual address? Is it illegal to list a virtual address?
It is.
Is it
illegal?
illegal?
It's 100% illegal to list a virtual address. It needs to be a physical address where agents of the DOT can be able to visit and physically access documents. Virtual addresses are not permitted. Does it happen? Yes, because you have in certain states like Texas alone, you have about 150, 300 DOT filings in 1 month. So yeah, things are going to get through the system. The new entrant audit, which is a requirement for motor carriers to be visited within 18 months, should put a stop to that, because an auditor should be physically visiting or picking up the phone and actually doing their best to vet that motor carrier. But does it happen? Yes. And virtual addresses are not permitted. Now, can someone change their address? After the fact, sure, that can happen, but it's going to catch up to them some way or another.
Yeah,
100%.
you're gonna get caught at some point, for sure. I mean, for all the people, you need to know. As a broker, we got this. We had this memorandum that we can't grant loads to carriers that have PO boxes or virtual addresses and stuff, because in the betting platforms you can see that. I mean, there's a mark, so you can't. So be aware of that. At some point, you're gonna get caught.
So there's a guy that actually came to the BCS. I want to kind of talk about his situation. His name's Jesse. Jesse's actually watching, and I'm going to help you out there, Jesse. Jesse had a situation where he listed his address at where he parked his truck. Now he has to change it because he's moving the truck. But there's systems like Highway that if you change your address, it renews your authority in their mind. Joe, does your authority renew if you move your address or no?
No, the authority does not renew if you move your address at all.
So that's a bogus move, right?
Yeah. The only time the authority renews is when one company makes a declaration to the FMCSA that I'm out of business. Someone else is going to assume my business. I don't want them to, obtain, to maintain my original interests. I want them to take over my physical assets. So that's the only time the authority will renew.
Yeah, the problem is Highway and some platforms will give you a mark like identity, maybe fraud, because you changed the address. That's a problem with Highway. They don't talk with anyone. We need betting platforms that they allow to speak with anyone, with carriers and with brokers. We need people who care about everyone.
Yeah, unfortunately, Highways takes FMCSA information and they make their own standards and rules.
Yeah, they don't care. Even if you have friends there, it is difficult to speak with them.
I have a person that reached out to me a few months ago where their insurance policy that they've maintained it forever, but for some reason their insurance agency canceled it by accident, and then Highways considered their authority as a new again.
Brand new.
Yeah.
Right.
I talked to JJ about that one. So.
Yep. There's no workaround in regards to that, which sucks, but that's why you got to make sure your insurance agent is on point, because they could cost you a lot of money and put you out of business. And then one
guy says Highway is popo. I will tell you something. We need that software because we got disconnected from each other. That's the problem. We need to connect more. We need to be together. We need to talk to each other. That's the problem.
So anytime, in my opinion, that you're developing software, you're trying to help eliminate certain things from happening in the industry, but the idea is to help eliminate, not destroy the ecosphere. And we have an ecosystem, and it involves shippers, brokers, carriers, safety guys, dispatchers. It involves everybody that's in trucking. So we need to find a way. They shouldn't just not like, if you have a program that impacts a carrier or a broker or whatnot, you should be able to talk to them and actually listen to what's happening with them and help resolve the issue if issues do arise. And there's the systems. I understand why Highways are, and I don't have a problem with it. What I have a problem with is there's good companies that struggle already, and systems make it difficult for good carriers to exist. I'm going to tell you, fraudsters, they don't have trucks. They don't care. It's not going to hurt their business. But people with real trucks, real problems, right? They're going to struggle.
I will tell you the problem. The problem is the real guy doesn't have the money to wait. The fraudster has the money and the technology to full highway. That's the problem.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And they're better at it. They're better at technology than
They're good.
with with so many vetting systems in place. Technology or fraud just keeps going up and up and up and up. There's more loads being double brokered. There's more loads being stolen. Yeah, you eliminate some of the issues, but you eliminated the number one equation that makes things go, and that's people. People make the
Communication.
industry. Yeah, people make it. People make the industry go. Vamos a seguirle. Let's get the next thing, Hector. You got something going good.
I know. Oh. Driver qualification is fucking. Yes.
So just so you guys know, DOTCSA has his own TikTok. He's part of our community. If you have questions regarding your safety, regarding the FMCSA rules, laws, send him a message. I'm pretty sure he'll respond.
And also, if you have, if you guys you need to reach out to me directly as well. If I'm not catching up to you, reach out to JJ. JJ knows how to get a hold of me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We are a resource, as JJ mentioned. He's bringing me under his wing to meet the community. So, I'm here to support both of these guys as well.
Also, if you need return of duty for people who got caught with calls, we don't have that program soon enough.
You're talking about, Hector, you're talking about return of duty for substance abuse program?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Just don't do drugs.
Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about that, Hector, because it's very important. Like, I'm in the state of Texas alone, and in the state of Texas does a big job of putting lots of drivers out of service because of the way the rules work. So we're fortunate to have a connection from the former FMCSA that retired. He created the drug and alcohol program. We have him down in the valley. We can reach out to him 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse, JJ has met him over the phone. I've introduced him. So if you guys have any high-level issues with any drug and alcohol history violations, if you have an issue that you just can't get over, we got the subject matter expert that we can connect you with. He's worked with various DOT agencies, so we'll find a resolution and an answer for you. So just reach out to us, and we'll figure it out for you.
Yeah. JJ, can you turn down the video like a little bit? Please.
Hold on.
Yeah, let's talk about drugs. Even when they're fun, don't do it. If you're a CDL driver, don't do it because you're gonna lose your license. Don't be a fool.
I'm glad you're mentioning that, because Trump did something very important 2 days ago, and he signed a nationwide ban on the use of low-level grade THC in hemp products.
Yes, that's what
Okay,
I'm talking about.
now that's very important because in the state of Texas and other states, there's all these little vape shops and CBD shops all across the nation that sell low-level hemp products that have THC. Well, unfortunately, THC is still a Schedule 1 narcotic. It doesn't matter what concentration it is. Under the Drug Enforcement Administration, Schedule 1 narcotic is still a disqualifier for any medical card examiner to give you a medical card. So there is no federal rules, no federal DOT rules that say if you use marijuana, you get disqualified. There's nothing like that at all, surprisingly. But under 49 CFR 391.45, which governs the issuance of a medical card, if the medical examiner finds out that you are using a Schedule 1 narcotic, which includes THC marijuana, then it's an automatic disqualifier, and that is low-level THC products.
There's no level of THC that you can get. I mean, you're gonna be disqualified. Yeah,
there's no exception for that. Yeah,
There's no
THC is
exception, yeah.
THC.
But it's legal in California. We don't care. You're a CDL driver.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, THC is THC. So, you know, I hate to say that, but you know, because there's some CBD products that are good for health reasons, joints, joint pain, things like that. But unfortunately, you know, it's a disqualifier. So that means that if you use certain CBD products that have THC, then your medical card is disqualified, and you cannot operate a commercial motor vehicle.
Okay, I have a company who's subject to testing, to drug testing. Who's subject?
Okay, so under the federal DOT regulations,
Yeah.
okay, everyone needs to understand that the only people that are subject to federal DOT 5-panel drug and alcohol testing under 49 CFR Part 40 are CDL drivers.
No
Okay?
non-CDL.
There are no federal DOT rules for non-CDL drivers. There may be state and local law regulations for non-CDL drivers, but there are no federal DOT rules for non-CDL drivers.
Correct. So CDL drivers are subject to testing.
And here's the part that everyone misses out, okay? If someone in your company holds a CDL or is required to hold a CDL, even though they do not drive a truck for a living, but they are just required to hold it in case they may have to drive a truck, like most company owners do, because this is how we used to catch them when I worked in the FMCSA.
Yeah, when you go for the truck to a shop or something like that, right?
Yeah,
the truck yard to yard.
I would go directly to the owner, Hector, and I would say, "Hey, man, you know, one of your drivers is down. What are you going to do if you got to move the truck?" And the truck owner would be proud. The trucking company owner would be proud and say, "Oh yeah, I get in the truck and I help out." I say, "Well, great. Show me your pre-employment drug screen and your random testing program." And many times they weren't on it.
They don't have it. So
because they don't have it exactly. Yeah.
Type of test: pre-employment, suspicion, random, post-accident, return of duty, and follow-up. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so anyone that's required to hold a CDL needs to be in a random testing program, first of all. Okay? Even if you don't drive a truck.
Yeah, if you're a pool driver, you need to be in random.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now,
so
here's the pre-employment.
Yeah.
And here's the problem that everyone makes a mistake on as well. If you have 50 drivers, let's make it down. Let's make it more simple. If you have 10 drivers, the DOT regulations say that you're supposed to test 50% of your drivers throughout the calendar year for controlled substance, 10% throughout the calendar year for alcohol. Now, if you are testing your own drivers randomly, that's at least 5 drivers for drug and alcohol testing, and that's at least 1 driver that's at least 5 drivers for drug testing, 1 driver for alcohol. That's when you're doing your own testing. Or if you are part of a pool, meaning you go to your drug and alcohol testing clinic and they're going to put you in a pool with other companies. All right, this is where most people mess up. If you're in a pool with other companies, if you are not tracking the performance of those other companies, then the entire pool may be out of compliance. So what I'm trying to say is, don't just pay a provider money to have you in a testing program. Ask for the performance testing rates of the entire pool. Because the entire pool did not meet their applicable rates, and you are in violation yourself.
Mm-hmm. Call your TPA.
Call your TPA. Yeah.
Exactly. So, what is reasonable suspicion testing, Joe?
So anyone that's going to, so anyone that's going to get a reasonable suspicion test, this is where you have to have someone in the company that's been trained to identify or recognize the signs of potential drug and alcohol abuse or use. So if someone has gone through the required training, and this training can be received online through various sources, there's no official DOT training for this. Many providers offer reasonable suspicion training, But if someone in your company has that training, then they identify a driver as having reasonable suspicion, then they'll send that driver for a reasonable suspicion test. Under the chain of custody, there's a little box that says reasonable suspicion.
Of course.
Okay.
So let's talk about, we already talked about pre-employment reasonable, random, post-accident.
Yes. So here's the biggest problem with post-accident testing. Most trucking companies panic and they just say, I'm going to give anyone a post-accident test. And I mean, anyone would reasonably do that. But we have to understand that a DOT accident is not just a regular accident. A fender bender is not a DOT accident. If you just bump a car or a car bumps you, that's a regular accident. Sure, you can, if you want to give your driver a drug test just to be sure for that, as long as this is not a DOT 5-panel drug screen, you're okay. But a DOT recordable accident that's defined as a DOT accident, that's under the definition of an accident under 390.5, it needs to meet 3 conditions. The first condition is a fatality, regardless who is at fault. So if you're driving a truck and a Honda hits another Honda and a tire off of those 2 Hondas hits your truck and someone in those 2 Hondas dies, well, guess what? Now you're a party of the accident and that is a fatality. In that case, you would definitely, your driver would definitely need to receive a post-accident drug and alcohol test. Okay. The other 2 conditions in which a driver needs to receive a post-accident drug and alcohol test is when there's disabling damage to a vehicle that's a party to the accident and that vehicle needs to be towed away. If that condition is met, then your driver needs to receive a post-accident drug or alcohol test. Okay? And then
We lost Joe a
if
little.
your driver, hello?
Go ahead.
Yeah. If the driver has received a moving traffic citation, okay, it's got to be a moving traffic citation. Okay. Now, at the time of the accident, some police officers don't give a moving traffic violation immediately, you know, because they're trying to clear the scene. They may give it much later. I understand that. So what I'm trying to say is, if you're trying to figure out, should I not? Most people will make the choice to give them a drug test. You're not going to be in violation for it. But if you do give them a post-accident drug and alcohol test and you don't know if a moving traffic violation has been issued, just make a little note. Because of the circumstances at the scene, I didn't know if my driver was going to get a moving traffic violation. So I went ahead and gave my driver a post-accident drug and alcohol test. Okay. So that's when a post-accident gets done. A post-accident DOT 5-panel drug screen. Now, there's different types of drug screens out there, and you can give your driver any other type of drug screen, but technically it's a violation if you give a driver a DOT 5-panel drug screen and you don't meet those conditions, because a DOT 5-panel drug screen is an observed collection, meaning the collector can actually stand there and watch them actually give out the specimen. Basically, the person's gonna take off their pants, pull it out, and pee in a cup, right? So you may be, if you don't meet those conditions, now you may violate some sort of labor law. So you have to be very careful about when you're going to give a DOT 5-panel drug screen.
Okay, and the last one, return to duty testing.
There is no requirement in the rules to give a driver any return to duty testing. Some motor carriers have a second chance program where they'll send the driver to a substance abuse program provider. The driver will go through the SAP and get their tests. The SAP will say, yes, this driver has started the course, the program, and then at that point they'll assign a return to duty test, and then the driver can go back to duty. Sure. But most motor carriers don't do that. Now, what happens is most drivers get fired, and then they try to go through an SAP on their own. The SAP at that point can work with the driver and the clinic for the driver to get a return to duty test. But technically, that should be done by the employer.
Yeah,
There's no,
or you can call us. We can do it for you. If
yeah,
you
yeah,
can call,
we can handle that for you. Yeah.
yeah, we can do the ROD correctly because it's a process.
Yes. Yeah, lots of these things are not simple, cut and dry things. They can be complicated, and if you do them the wrong way, you're going to spend lots of money. So reach out to Hector. Hector been there. Hector has me as a resource. We help out each other all the time, and this is the biggest thing about this is, I'm really glad that JJ used the word expert. Look, no one really is an expert in this industry. We've all have been in this line of work for a long time. What I'm trying to say is it can be even difficult for us. So we know it's very difficult for you guys. So let's work together. Reach out to Hector. Hector's been there, done that. I've been there, done that. As much as we know, we'll put together our heads and make a solution for you.
And yeah, we need to end the class because there's a lot of information that the people need to process. But what is a refusal for a drug test?
Let me give you an example of refusal, okay? And this is a reality. If you tell a driver, "Hey man, you've been selected for a drug test," and the driver goes, "I'm just gonna quit," that's a refusal.
Even if you quit.
Okay? Quitting upon notification of a drug test is a refusal, and the motor carrier has a responsibility to report that as a refusal to the Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse. If you do not report it, and the driver gets involved in a fatality, it's going to come back on you.
Yeah.
So report it. You have to report it. Okay.
How we can report that, Joe?
Again, it's the Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse. Get yourself registered, go on there, and make sure you report it.
100%.
That's why you need clearinghouse people. Register your company with clearinghouse. You need it. So
and if you have difficulty with the clearinghouse, my other recommendation, if you kind of don't want to mess with it, my other recommendation is contact the FMCSA office in your state, send them a fax, and just put it on record that John Smith tested positive, and send them the copies of the drug and alcohol report. Notify someone that the driver tested positive, because almost every state has passed legislation that a driver's CDL will be suspended upon the results of a positive drug screen.
FMCSA, you still get fax. If you're old enough, you still can send a fax.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I just want to make sure that our community understands that you got to notify someone, because it's going to fall back on you.
That because the guy refused on you.
Yep.
Yeah.
People doesn't know that. So we're done with the course. Right now, people process all the stuff that you learned today, and we're gonna talk just about trucking.
Yeah, let's talk a minute. Let's talk a minute about some things that some people, right? We got to give a shout out to Ken Adamo. He gave a shout out to the raza, to the Mexicans, right? About knowing English on a big stage. So big shout out to Ken Adamo from DAT Analytics, letting people know that the Mexicans know the way, and we're great truck drivers, and we belong part of the community. It's great to hear that. Hector made a video about it. Two, if you're brand new and you need to start your authority, reach out to DA for $3.99, and in reality, it's usually $300 to pay for it. They do it for $100, but they give you a course. Look at that guy. They give you the DAT access half off for 6 months. So basically, they're paying you. So make sure that you actually go to DAT to help you fill out all your paperwork to start your authority.
Don't pay for luxuries, people. It's not time to pay for luxuries.
Correct. So they pay you basically to bring you onto their business, which is a great deal. But big shout out to the DAT team and putting Ken Adamo on the stage against Craig Fuller. I'm a big fan of Ken Adamo. He's very, very smart, very, very talented. Craig Fuller is too. Some of the things that we always tell people is make sure that you get to know everybody in the industry, ask people, meet them, become friends with them, because you never know when you're going to have a question to ask, and or you're going to need some help. And so that's why we started this whole community thing, and making sure that people got information for free. Don't pay for dispatch courses. If you have friends that want to get into the game, where we're going to review the dispatch courses, review processes, review the FMCSA, review the laws, introduce you to brokers. Last week we had Spot Freight on. Near future, we'll have Logistics Dynamic on. We'll have Shine Logistics. We'll have Freight Country on. Just a variety of brokers, so you guys understand our network's not just me and Hector and Joe. Our network's full of people that actually want to help the trucking community and for you guys to be better.
One guy told me, like, why do I need Ken Adamo? He's one of the most, the guy has the most information in trucking. The guy sees report about marketing every day because they own the information.
100%.
Simple as that.
He knows a lot of stats.
Chief of analytics of the biggest load board holder. You want to talk with that guy.
Yeah.
Bueno. Hey, Joe, vamos a tener una carne asada 13 de diciembre.
Sounds like a plan, Hector. Thanks for telling me.
So everybody on here,
with la raza.
Yeah, everybody on here. That's the next announcement. Is we're putting together a free carne asada for everybody to join us. Hector and I are putting it together for everybody. We're gonna go out buy some meat, some goats, have some drinks, have some fun, and network. Diego from La Bacha, right? He's already trying to help us, already trying to plan. Big shout out to him. But if you're in the community, make sure you tell people. That way we can count on how many people are going to be there, and I can buy enough meat for everybody.
Yeah, we're gonna have people from DAT. We're gonna have people from other companies. So on time, we're gonna speak with the on time offer, like a place. Green Valley offer place. So I have a bunch of people calling me to be part of the carne asada. It's gonna be in McAllen, Texas, December the 13th, Saturday.
It's a great day.
Yeah, because most of the drivers came back on Friday, so that's why we choose for Saturday.
And you don't have to be a business owner. You just have to be in trucking.
If you're a driver, if you're a dispatcher, if you're a broker, you're a mechanic, we want you there. You have a truck and you want to come for the weekend, we give you free parking. Don't worry.
You don't worry about anything. Don't worry about the food. You'll leave with food, good times, pictures, and a lot of people. I'm going to try to bring some of the brokers, some big brokers that have already committed. That way you guys can get to know the business. People don't really think brokers want to talk to carriers. I'm going to prove you guys wrong. They all love relationships. And if you're new, start making relationships. Join us the 13th of December for the carne asada in McAllen. It'll be a good time.
¿Cómo ves, Joe?
Awesome. Se ve muy bien. I'm excited to be part of the community. Thanks a lot for the opportunity to talk to the group, Hector and JJ. I'm here as a resource for everyone.
Mira, ya me dijeron, voy a llevar unas amigas. Ya está hablando mi idioma este vato.
All right, Hector, I'm driving, so I just want to be part of the chat. I'll let you guys continue, but every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, we'll be giving some lives. Hopefully next time I'm sitting at home where we could actually talk about trucking. I love talking about trucking, ask questions, bringing people on. But everybody that's on here, share our information. Let's grow the community. We have some group chats that we're part of. We want to grow it to 1,000 people, 2,000 people, 3,000 people. The more people that we can help, the more people that there's opportunity to help others. So we're here to teach and learn and make sure that we're resources. But gracias por todos que vinieron y están aquí viendo y todos los que están aquí soportando lo que estamos haciendo. We're here to support you guys and thank you for supporting us.
Hey, ¿en California para cuándo? Vamos a ir a California, güey, no te apures.
No te apures. Like, we'll be in California. We just need to find a spot in California. If you want to throw one in Hawaii, hasta vamos para Hawaii a la madre.
Gracias, Joe. El próximo viernes, 8 de la noche, regulation, questions, trucking, dispatch, brokering, everything you need to start your company, you're going to have it here.
Everything for free. For free.
Gracias,
Stop paying for courses. We have more knowledge than everybody. We have more connections, and we'll continue to grow our connections.
Gracias, JJ. Yo me quedo todavía un ratito.
Buenas noches a todos. Buenas noches a todos. Aquí de San Antonio yo. Good night.
Good night, guys.
¿Qué tal les pareció el curso? ¿Qué tal? No vas a ver eso en ningún otro lado. No creo que, nadie lo tiene, güey. No, o sea, ¿qué te cuento? Tengo un vato 25 años tú 25 años en el tema de FMCSA y en DOT, un experto. Tengo un vato que estuvo de COO de un factoraje enorme que movió millones de dólares, billones de dólares. Estoy yo con mi experiencia, yo soy el más jodido, pero bueno, soy gracioso. Buenas noches. ¿De qué me perdí? Te perdiste de todo. Básicamente te perdiste de todo. Tuvimos una clase, un masterclass de regulaciones. Eso fue lo que pasó hoy. Lo voy a subir a YouTube y voy a hacer contenido para esta semana. No paguen por cursos de despacho. Se los estamos dando gratis. Hoy vi una señora cobrar $500 por un curso de un fin de semana que porque te iba a llevar de la mano. Te aseguro que nadie de esa gente ha trabajado en ningún lado, tienen cero experiencia, no tienen camiones. Yo he trabajado en muchas empresas, he hecho cross-border México, Estados Unidos a Canadá y he viajado por el mundo viendo empresas de transporte. JJ estuvo del lado del factoraje como el COO, como la persona, el jefe del control de operaciones de TABS, corriendo un factoraje enorme. En los últimos 2 años ha creado empresas de compliance, de safety, de operaciones. Ha creado factorajes nuevos desde el lado de las operaciones. Es un vato con toda la experiencia del mundo en operaciones, en procesos. Joe es un diccionario andante. Ni siquiera volteó a ver el libro para contarte todas las regulaciones que te dijo. Joe se las sabe de memoria. Joe ha estado en la cartera. Joe ha hecho inspecciones físicas. Joe ha estado en el tema de accidentes. Es lo que se llama en la industria un subject matter expert. Joe sabe su negocio y todos somos parte de un grupo. La semana pasada le estuve a Joe Cover, que es brokeraje de Spot Freight, 3,500 cargas semanales. No más, 55,000 cargas mensuales. Vamos a tener otros brokers aquí, vamos a tener brokers de expeditado. Nadie les va a dar este curso en la industria, nadie les va a dar esto por gratis. Por gratis. ¿Por qué? Porque ni yo estoy cobrando, ni ella está cobrando. Vamos a hacer la carne asada es for free too. Alguien más, vamos a conseguir que alguien más, no yo no voy a pagar. Si alguien me conoce a mí, sabe que si algo soy codo. Entonces, les vamos a ofrecer conexiones con el network, les vamos a presentar gente, vamos a traer a la gente que importa en la industria. No te desconectes de la industria. Entre más conectado estés, mejor. Yo les enseño todos los días lo que estoy haciendo. Conéctate. Y lo hablábamos hace un rato. El problema de la industria es la desconexión que tenemos. No nos desconectemos unos de otros. Estemos juntos. Gracias a Ovidio, estuvo chingón. Joe sabe su negocio. Joe es un experto. O sea, tú lo escuchaste. Yo nada más le iba dando. Porque si no le voy diciendo cómo va el tema, Joe se agarra y te habla 5 horas de transporte, pero nos va a perder a todos, a mí incluido, O sea, entonces, yo conozco perfectamente a Joe, conozco perfectamente a JJ y tengo que regresarlos de repente al redil. Soy un moderador donde le voy haciendo preguntas a Joe, te digo, porque si no, Joe, cállate. Yo he visto gente con 500 camiones. Yo estuve en una reunión hace mes y medio con una persona en 500 camiones. Fíjate, el dueño de una compañía que creció de 1 a 500 camiones, el vato sabe lo que es hacer, sabe transporte, sabe hacer billetes. Y me dice el vato, a mí me gusta hablar contigo porque yo hay muchas veces me quedo, no le entiendo yo. O sea, y me siento mal conmigo mismo de que el vato me da unas clasesotas y yo no lo sigo, güey. O sea, no voy, no, así me dijo, no lo entiendo y sé que lo que está diciendo está bien porque yo se sienta en una reunión y empezamos a hablar de safety y yo empieza 390.43 que dice bla, 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 391.43A que dice bla, 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 bla y te recitó 10 FMCSAs en 5 minutos y luego te dice la aplicación y luego te dice experiencias al respecto y luego te habla de las aplicaciones prácticas que pudiera tener y dice el vato, me pierdo, güey, porque de repente el vato ya va no sé en dónde y me da mucha pena que me pierdo, güey, y dice, por eso mejor lo platico contigo, porque obviamente como yo no tengo el expertise de Joe, yo tomo nada más lo que debo de tomar y se lo explico. Le digo, no, esto sí, güey, no hay pedo. Pero ahorita tienes lo mejor de tres personas que estamos en transportación, que estamos haciendo las cosas, no sé si bien o mal, pero la estamos haciendo porque tenemos un objetivo, traer a la gente a la conexión de nuevo. ¿Quién está tomando conmigo? ¿Estoy tomando solo? ¿Soy un borracho? ¿Qué tal les pareció? ¿Quién se quedó con dudas? Aquí con 2X, es todo mi Joe. Mira, y unas coronas. ¿Cómo quito el 411 report? Mándame un correo. Nada más que ahorita sigue así, Héctor. Estoy haciendo lo que muchos no han podido. No sé qué estamos haciendo. Ahí vamos, ahí vamos. Este tema en la transportación es un bumpy road, güey. Tú crees que vas con madre y de repente caes en un pinche pozote y el pedo es ajustar. El pedo es que te tienes que ajustar a la industria, a como vaya siendo. A los que ya se terminó la guerra con ya te terminó la guerra con las cubanas, pues no pudieron conmigo, compa. No traen lo mismo, o sea, saben hablar a la carga y ya es todo, pero no compiten. Te vas a su en vivo y nomás hablan de entre ellas, de cómo es una muy chingona más que la otra. Pero bueno, con Mare. Agencias de brokers, son algo bueno y malo. Te voy a decir por qué. Yo soy el chavo que me está ayudando a abrir mi compañía, Héctor, no sé cómo agradecerlo. No, de nada. Yo creo que ya mañana llega lo tuyo y podemos empezar con el MC, no te preocupes. Puras tentaciones llegando aquí a Houston. Agencias de brokers son buenas y son malas. Te voy a decir por qué. Porque son buenas porque te dan la oportunidad de trabajar si ya tienes un cliente con brokerajes reputables, pero son malas porque los brokerajes ya no quieren gastar dinero en marketing, prefieren captar agentes que ya traigan libros de negocio. Y eso es un poquito malo, porque te limita mucho en el tema. A mí me habló un 4PL enorme de California hace como un mes. Oye, pon una entrevista para que nos abras mercado en México. Y les entregó un plan de trabajo para abrir mercado en México. Y me dijo el vato, no, eso no funciona. Mejor tráeme clientes y te doy comisión. Y le dije yo, pues es que si ya traigo los clientes, ¿para qué chingados te quiero, güey? Se los ofrezco al mejor postor. Y es una tontería y es algo que debería corregirse. Entiendo, el market está jodido para todos, ¿eh? Aunque mucha gente te diga aquí los brokers nos roban, hay brokers que están sobreviviendo también. Entonces, Por eso no quieren gastar. Si fuera un market con dinero, si fuera un mercado donde hay feria, cállate. ¿Tú crees que los vatos no gastarían para tener nuevas oficinas y nuevas sedes y gente abriendo mercado en todos lados? Pues claro que lo harían. Entonces, hay una dualidad ahí peligrosa. Puras tentaciones. Viernes de chévere, güey. Oye, viajo tanto que luego llego y con los únicos que tengo para tomarme una chévere son con los del en vivo, güey. Sí, está cabrón, es lo que te digo. O sea, sí está duro para todos lados, güey. Y tú lo notas, güey. Empiezas todo poderosas que yo veía gastando durísimo hace 2 años. Ahorita andan. Si lo hacemos ahorita, como está el mercado, cuando se acomode, nos va a ir bien. Al que sabe jalar le va bien. El mercado está difícil, pero bueno, pues no nos rajamos, aquí andamos. Se ha quedado mucha gente en el camino, ¿eh? Muchos conocidos se han quedado en el camino. No pudieron ya seguir con las compañías. Es lamentable, pero bueno, es lo que es. Al final del día, es un todo. Transportación es un todo. Todo lo que te platicó yo, lo tienes que hacer. Lo tienes que hacer. Todo lo que te dijo yo ahorita que tienes que hacer, lo tienes que hacer. Y aparte tienes que hacer buenos negocios. O sea, imagínate la chinga que es esto. Tienes por un lado que entender la regulación, cumplirla, aplicarla, siendo que es uno de los negocios más regulados en todos Estados Unidos. Pero aparte de que tienes que entender esa regulación, entenderla, aplicarla correctamente, tienes que ser bueno en negocios. Ay, cabrón, sí está perro, güey. O sea, sí es una industria que para ser exitoso conlleva una chinga. Conlleva una chinga. El problema es que muchos, entras con deuda, pero tienes un buen cliente, te la pela. Entras con deuda, a ver quién te va a dar jale, ahí está cabrón. Entonces, ese sí es un pedito. Ese sí es un pedito. Espérame. Ahí voy. Soy hombre, no puedo hacer 2 cosas a la vez. Pero cuando hago una, la hago con madre. Sí, nos han tildado de brutos, pero hay que ser bien inteligentes aquí para sobrevivir. Sí, güey, sí, la verdad es que sí. Es una industria no justa. No hay justicia en los negocios, mija. Idalia, no sé si eres Idalia Brand. Me imagino que eres mujer, pero te digo, mija, te lo digo con respeto, no te vayas a enojar. Pero, pues sí hablamos en mi pueblo. En los negocios no hay justicia. Va a ser chingón el que sea más chingón. Es lo que es. Nosotros tenemos relay. Mándame un mensaje al WhatsApp 512-713-1645 y tenemos hasta 95 centavos en ciertas locaciones. Te damos una aplicación y un mapa por todo Estados Unidos, entonces tú vas viendo dónde hay descuentos. Es muy buena, a mí me ha servido bastante relay. Y eso haz de cuenta que si tú te subes y entre más gente se suba, vamos teniendo mejores descuentos. Porque es una tarjeta que no nada más eres tú solo, sino eres parte de mi grupo, del grupo de JJ. Obtienes descuentos como si fueras flota. ¿Cómo empiezo a hacer dispatch? Vente a las clases, viernes 8 de la noche. Ya hablamos de qué son los brokers, qué son los carriers, qué son los dispatchers, los tipos de cargas. Y hoy hablamos de regulación. Hoy fue la clase más pesada de regulación. La próxima clase vamos a hablar de cargas. Entonces vente los viernes 8 de la noche, hora del este. Gratis, no pagues cursos de despacho. Lo que me refiero es que nosotros, pues es que somos los que traemos la responsabilidad. Pues tú eres el que traes el camión de 80,000 libras en la calle que se puede estampar. Acuérdate que FMCSA lo que hace es regular. No te va a ayudar en el negocio. Porque lo es. FMCSA no me ayuda a cobrar el layover. Regulación. Ellos no se meten en el negocio. El inteligente para el negocio deberías de ser tú. Ya me habías preguntado, mándame los datos y mando la aplicación. Y si sí, ya chingaste, no sé. Son cuestiones muy particulares, pero Gio, mándame el mensaje, mándame los datos, los mando y ojalá y sí se pueda. Muy interesante. No, de nada, estoy a la orden. Gracias. Para mí fue interesante también. Imagínate. Que me siento con yo a cada rato a platicar. Sí, ya sé, me apendejo cuando veo las cosas acá. Vamos a ver si este güey está libre. Creo que para todos. Sí, sí, sí. Deja tú, la voy a cortar en pedacitos esta semana y lo voy a subir a TikTok, a YouTube. ¿Cómo se llama el programa? ¿Cuál programa? ¿Cómo se llama el programa? ¿Cuál programa? No entendí. ¿Has escuchado hablar de Buba? Sí, funciona muy bien. Buba maneja mis cargas. Yo uso Data, pero depende del tamaño de tu compañía, hay diferentes. Data Truck es muy bueno, es una sorpresa muy refrescante. Yo uso Data. Mira, un TMS no te va a llevar la contabilidad, para eso yo tengo QuickBooks, pero el TMS sí te hace muchas funciones. Entonces, para flotas chicas sí Data Truck es mejor que Data. Data es bueno para flotas y desde brokeraje yo lo uso y para mí desde brokeraje es una chulada. Buba es una mamada, Buba es muy bueno. A lo mejor está mal configurado, habla soporte porque te ayuden. Yo conozco el dueño es mi socio. No en Buba, porque si no estuviera extremadamente rico yo, sino que andamos haciendo cosas juntos. Aquí en Houston, a ver, espérame. Déjame voy al baño, no sean gachos. Ya se fue al baño. Dice, aquí en Houston anda un problema grande los tarjeteros para el diésel, andan con todo. No entiendo el problema. Siempre he escuchado eso de los tarjeteros del diésel. No sé cómo está eso. Quiero imaginarme que están poniendo diésel con tarjetas robadas o cómo está el show. Explíquenme, porque no sé. Son temas locales. Espérenme, porque tengo que hacer un reporte. Así mismo, hasta con los códigos de modo sí, está cabrón entonces, güey. La app de Relay lo que tiene es que la aplicación tiene que tener proximidad con la bomba y a mí eso me gusta. Se supone que si no estás con tu teléfono cerca de la bomba no puedes aunque te pasen el código, supuestamente. Para todo hayan manera los scammers, que era lo que les decía hace rato. Así mismo, hasta con código es una mafia, bro. No, es que es lo que les decíamos hace rato con el tema de Highway. Highway es efectivo, pero los vatos hicieron una desconexión con los carriers porque sus clientes son los brokers en realidad. Entonces lo que venden ellos es una super hiper seguridad, tanta que ni siquiera hablan con los carriers. Hay una desconexión y eso es lo que creas. Entonces, ¿qué pasa? El que es malandro de a de veras, como quiera arregla su pedo con Highway, como no sé. Pero los pinches malandros hacen feria y los vatos arreglan, güey. O sea, no hay un vato más listo para arreglar un tema que un vato que está ganando feria de eso, güey. O sea, tú lo ves con las mexicanadas, ¿verdad? Dice... Todavía no, en eso ando. Fíjate que mandé a pedir un cuadro para acá atrás, un cuadro así mamalón de un camión antiguo con LED. Me falta eso y me falta una luz que me aviente de atrás para adelante que no me ha llegado. Y ya sería básicamente... bueno, estoy poniendo unas chingaderas para el rebote del sonido. Y sería todo. Vamos a la carnita asada. Bienvenido, todos bienvenidos. Va a ser la carne, la comida la va a comprar Jaime. Cada quien va a comprar su cheve, que eso no le veo problema. Estoy tratando que alguien del Valle se anime a contratarme un grupo, porque a mí me gusta cantar. Entonces, si fuera una banda sería mejor. Estoy esperando a ver si Cano en Son se pone guapo, o si mi compadre... Ahí tengo varios conocidos que les voy a hincar el diente. Hace rato me dijo mi compadre de On Time, mi compadre Enrique Bello me dijo, ¿cuánto dinero traes? Le dije, no traigo dinero, mamón, consígueme el pinche lugar así. Y luego ya abrí con un amigo, el buen Green Valley Produce, y dijo, yo pongo el lugar. Entonces, network. Mejor, dijo el compadre Baymax, mejor tener un amigo que $1 millón, es correcto. Entonces, que yo quisiera los dos, échenme el millón y el amigo. Ya voy a acabar el informe, perdónenme. Por fin, quiero comenzar mi compañía. ¿Tú me podrías dar cargas? Es muy difícil que yo le dé cargas a un solo carrier. Muy difícil. Sobre todo si nada más tienes un camión. Te podría dar algunas cargas de repente, pero aparte no sé si no sé ni dónde vives y a lo mejor no tengo cargas en esa área, entonces está cabrón. Mírala, aquí anda Unice, ya le mandé la invitación para que no me sobran contactos, siempre es bueno tener contactos. Te voy a decir una cosa, es bien sencillo, mira, TX Driver. A ti te estoy haciendo la autoridad gratis. Si a mí un día se me poncha una llanta del carro, güey, o no tengo para comer en Houston, ¿no me invitarías a comer? Viene, por eso, pues entra live, mija. Vienes de pasada, pues entra live. Ya te invité. Nada más di hola y te vas. Ya ves, te dicen lambiscona y no quieres entrar. Por eso te atacan las despaches. Que suba, así, seguro, sin par... ¿Ves lo que te digo? Y eso es lo que está toda madre, o sea, eso es lo bueno de dejar amigos por todos lados. Digo, tampoco una cosa aprovechada de que yo cada que vaya a Houston te voy a hincar el diente, pero yo sé que ahí tengo un paro, güey. O sea, y así tengo paros por todos lados porque te portas raza con la raza, o sea. Que a veces no puedo con todos, discúlpenme, esta semana está hasta el tronco. Lo del non-CDL fue un temita que Yo no pensé que me fuera a rebotar así. Me estuvo hablando gente y explícame, y explícame, y explícame. Y pues traté de darles atención lo más posible, pero pues también a veces, no alcanza. ¿Cuándo vas de nuevo a Florida? No tengo ahorita planes. Por rezando, carnal. Mm. Ya voy a acabar el informe. Ay, discúlpeme si estoy acá. ¡Oh, qué chingamos! Félix Photography. No sé quién eres, carnal. Estoy esperando a Unice la reina. No quiero un Félix Photography.
¿Qué hubo?
¿Qué onda?
Sí he visto tus mensajes que me mandas, nada más que ahorita mis lawyers andan muy así que no quieren que hable mucho así con la prensa, que me ha tocado que, pues uno tiene la buena intención, right, pues de dar yo tengo la intención de levantar la voz y de que sepa la gente, ¿no? Lo que está pasando, y no estoy diciendo que Alex es uno de ellos, no estoy diciendo que él, pero a mí también Mother Trucker también me habló que también él quiere. El Alex le preguntó a Mother Trucker también así como tú, ¿no? Que to reach out. Nomás que los reporters, vato, honestamente, de una entrevista de 30 minutes, nomás le sacan lo que les genera más clics y más views. Y eso es lo que le ponen. Y yo por eso.
No, yo estoy de acuerdo, pero mira, yo conozco al Mother Trucker. Bien. Pero Alex Loki es mi amigo, güey. O sea, yo sí le puedo pedir revisar antes la nota y si no nos gusta...
Mi lawyer...
¿Eh?
Yo le comenté yo a mi lawyer, ella ya está hablando con él.
Está bueno.
Con el Alex. Ahí lo dejamos en eso, que ellos arreglan. Pero estamos, yo prefiero así como aquí, como tú, así como gente que... Pues que yo te estoy hablando a ti en directo, ¿me entiendes?
Sí, no hay pedo. Yo te lo ofrecí porque, en serio, o sea... Obviamente la media te ayuda y pues yo estoy aquí, güey, pero pues Alex Loki tiene Pulitzer y la chingada, o sea,
ya, pues en pocas palabras el caso ahí está dentro ya en los tribunales, que es lo que se ocupa, right? Ya lo que pasa
claro.
Ya lo que pasa afuera, y aunque no veas, pues yo ando trabajando poco a poquito, y yo pienso que poco a poquito voy cambiando las mentes de la gente que no sabe lo que está pasando, porque en las noticias el problema que yo tengo, para que esté claro, yo en ningún momento estoy diciendo que no hay que cambiar cosas en el trucking. Hay problemas en el trucking. Yo lo que estoy peleando es de que no nos incluyan a todos en la bola y que por lo menos, o sea, no nada más digan, pues todos no saben hablar inglés, todos son un peligro. No, o sea, sí somos inmigrantes, pero también no todos somos iguales. O sea, que no nos juzguen a todos por unos errores.
Pues yo no quisiera decir no todos somos iguales. Yo pudiera decir arreglen su desmadrito con los que emiten las pinches CDLs.
Exactamente, pero yo lo que estoy peleando
porque pues si abres un programa, pues todo el mundo va a querer, güey. Pero se supone que nomás van a pasar los que pueden pasar.
Yo lo que estoy peleando es un ejemplo. Ya ves que están diciendo que, un ejemplo, California, right? Ahorita California, que hay unos choferes que tienen la licencia más tiempo de su work permit. ¿Acaso el chofer cuando va al DMV, él selecciona cuándo se le vence la licencia o el DMV decide?
Es lo que te digo, o sea, lo que tú dices es correcto. ¿Por qué te vas contra mí? Vete contra los pinches DMVs.
Exacto. O un ejemplo, si quieren que se hable 100% inglés, ¿por qué están en los exámenes en otros idiomas? Si ellos, o otras cosas que dicen que el inglés, obviamente I speak perfect English, y aún así, el punto de donde yo voy es de que ellos están en las noticias, cuando van en las noticias, ellos anuncian, estamos sacando a 200,000 ilegales que no saben el idioma y son un peligro para las carreteras, pero nunca dicen, y también nos vamos a llevar por las patas a los que llevan 20 años aquí, 30 años aquí, Y eso es lo que yo estoy peleando. So, ahorita,
Sí, al que no tiene ni un ticket, al que tiene récord perfecto, al que no tiene ni siquiera un ticket, al que ni siquiera tiene un jaywalking, ¿va?
you know, so, pues aquí no lo llevamos, me la he pasado peleando con gente todos los 2 meses y ni modo, es lo que toca, ¿no? Pero pues, por lo
Pero
menos
¿con qué
estamos
gente
donde
peleas,
estamos.
güey?
Pues con la gente que anda, que no, porque agarrar que hazte ciudadano, no mames, güey, o sea, que hazte ciudadano es fácil, hazte ciudadano, no mames, si fuera
No,
fácil.
hacerse ciudadano no es fácil, ¿va? O sea, no digan
Pero sí,
mamadas.
¿entiendes?
Sí, no
Pero yo-
sabes la ley de inmigración, o sea, no es fácil,
Pero yo
¿verdad?
me-
Cuando estás metido en una caja, estás en esa caja y te chingaste. Y hay un chingo de opciones, pero estás en tu caja.
Sí, prácticamente me la he pasado educando a la gente que no sabe qué es DACA, qué es TPS, qué es de todo eso, ¿me entiendes? Y eso es lo que me estaba pasando toda la semana y pues a eso le tiré y yo sabía que lo iba a hacer y pues ni modo, aquí estamos, ¿no? Lo bueno es que ya se logró detener la regla temporalmente y pues se hizo algo, ¿no? Y pues
Claro.
lo que estoy peleando es, me meto en los lives pues del otro lado, se puede decir. ¿Y sabes de qué ellos hablan? Ellos no hablan de la seguridad, de que ellos no me han dicho en ningún momento, ya con esta detención ya están otra vez en peligro las calles. ¿Sabes qué dicen? Ya las cargas, cheap freight, low rates. Pero se supone que esta póliza era contra la safety, no contra el dinero. ¿Qué se trata esto en realidad? Si no, eso ahí me la he llevado con todos ahí. A todos tengo, compa, yo no le tengo miedo a debatir con nadie. Y yo no le saco, y muchos dicen, no, te pusiste un target en tu bag y te van a deportar, güey. Yo no me estoy escondiendo, güey. La inmigración sabe dónde estoy, pago mis taxes, yo aquí tengo años, yo no me ando escondiendo.
No, ni tendrías por qué, porque pues estás ejerciendo tu derecho a defenderte.
Sí, pues.
¿Me entiendes?
Sí,
O sea,
no, pues
está
ahí no-
bien, o sea.
Sí, pero
Ahora-
no, es que
ahora-
miré que estabas en live y dije, déjame comentar, no vas a pensar que te ando ignorando, ¿no? Ando en chinga, ya
No,
sabes cómo es
no,
esto,
güey, no, digo, a mí, fíjate, yo no soy así porque a mí me pasa, güey, a mí me mandan mensajes y luego no los veo. De hecho,
Ay, no te
la
imaginas,
otra vez
¿no?
que
Cada
estuve en
rato-
live, tú pediste entrar y yo no sabía quién eras, güey, y la cancelé la entrada porque no sabía quién eras, es la verdad.
No,
¿Para
pues,
qué te hablo mentiras?
no, es...
Pero
no,
y
es
luego me
entendible.
pusiste, soy el de la demanda, y luego te desconectaste y ya no te vi. Y luego te dije, te hice el video, háblame para lo de Alex Loki. Porque, mira, yo no estoy a favor ni en contra, yo estoy a favor de la gente buena, güey. Es todo. Hay gente muy
Pero sí me
buena
entiendes,
de
sí
todos los lados.
Sí me entiendes en la parte que te digo que sí estoy de acuerdo que hay cambios que se ocupan hacer, pero estas no son las formas, o sea, no queda todos parejos, ya todos para afuera, no, o sea, cabrones, hay que hacer un proceso. Un ejemplo, mira, están usando ahorita lo del vato del Florida, ¿no? El que pues, hizo el
Sí.
accidente de la U-turn, ¿no? All right. Ya salió que lo detuvieron a ese vato en New Mexico, ¿no? Oye, si en New Mexico ese vato, el policía, haya hecho su trabajo y haga hecho el EOP test, ahí mismo lo baja del troque.
Sí, güey, o sea, sí, claro, tienes razón, o sea.
O
Vamos
sea,
a lo mismo.
hay filtros y hay protocols que están en marcha en el sistema, que están diseñados para prevenir estas cosas, pero no los hacen y ya le echan la culpa luego al inmigrante. O sea, si ellos no están haciendo su jale, ¿qué culpa tengo yo? Yo en todos estos años que tengo manejando, yo nunca he tenido un EOP test, nunca me lo han hecho, obviamente porque yo creo que escuchan cómo habla uno y dicen, no, pues ¿para qué? Pero así de simple, si ellos se pusieran... Ellos empezaron con esta regla que el inglés, es lo principal, que el inglés. Si todos los policías en los puertos,
No lo voy a decir. Sí.
si todos los inspectores en los puertos se ponen a hacer su trabajo y hacen el EOP test, sí o no bajaría la gente que no habla inglés. Son los inspectores, porque le echan la culpa a los choferes y yo qué culpa tengo que ellos no hagan su jale. You know?
No, pero
eso
te
es lo
digo,
que
yo estoy de acuerdo. Ok, hay vatos que no hablan inglés, sácalos. Hay vatos que no deberían de tener licencia, sácalos, pero no a todos, ¿verdad? O sea, no la barredora general de que chinguen a su madre todos, ¿verdad? Ahí sí está cabrón.
Sí, pues
Porque sí, hay
prácticamente
gente que no tendría
estamos
que
en lo
tener
mismo.
CDL, estamos de acuerdo.
Estamos de acuerdo, pero el punto es de que está eso del el third party testers, ¿no? Oye,
Ujú.
si yo soy, muchos se preguntan cómo esta gente pudo agarrar su licencia. Fácil. Si yo soy un vato que soy un dueño de una compañía de trucking school, digamos que soy, pues, ok, yo soy mexicano, vamos a usar mi idioma, ¿va? Yo soy mexicano y yo tengo una escuela que es un trucking school que también está certificado para ser third party tester y yo quiero que mi escuela tenga una buena reputación de que todos pasan. Oye, yo los voy a pasar a todos, aunque no sepan inglés. Porque yo los voy a pasar, porque yo quiero, y ese es el problema también, porque el billete, yo le puedo pagar a un instructor, hey, te voy a dar $1,000 que me pases. El DMV no los hace el testing a los third party testers, el instructor le manda los resultados al DMV.
Oye, y luego ya también vi que te estaban acusando de agarrar billetes. Pues los pinches abogados cuestan, mamones.
No, pero es que nunca los tienes felices. Y ya ahorita yo ya aprendí a que pues ni me molestan, simplemente a veces me río. A veces,
No,
mira,
pero digo,
yo puedo hacer un video, ¿va? Yo puedo hacer un video explicando cómo trabaja DACA y por qué no ha arreglado, y en los comentarios, pues hazte ciudadano. No, so, ya no sé si me están en serio o están jugando. Digo, no mames, pues este güey que no miró el video, qué chingado, pues nada más los primeros 3 segundos y ahí van a comentar. Y siempre son los que no tienen foto en el perfil. Los keyboard warriors, les digo yo.
yeah.
No, pues ahí estamos, vato. Yo nada más quería ahí comentarte. Y pues ahí seguimos en la
No, te
lucha.
agradezco, Jorge, te agradezco y Dios te bendiga por haber levantado la voz, ¿verdad? Porque
Y
pues
pues ahí sí.
tu situación, tú lo pudiste hacer, qué bueno, y pues le estás echando la mano a mucha raza, digo, imagínate, me imagino que te llegan los mismos mensajes que a mí, chingo historias bien tristes, güey.
No, pues
Este,
sí, pues esa es la otra, que los truckers se ponen a pensar que los cheap freight y que cheap loads, pero no se ponen a pensar la gente que maneja autobuses de las escuelas, los que manejan los de esos concrete mix trucks, los de la construcción,
no,
ellos no
pues
tienen nada
chingo de
que ver
raza.
con...
Hoy me habló una mamá soltera que 3 hijos y que es la única manera en que tiene para manejar. Y no, hombre, güey.
Ahora, te voy a
Puro
decir lo
llorar
de...
todos los pinches días.
No, sí está cabrón. Mira, con eso te voy a decir. Ahorita lo que está pasando en California, de los 17,000 licencias, ¿verdad? Ocupo que la gente, yo sé que es alarmante, pero las noticias van y reportan nada más para asustar, pero ya si te pones a leer bien los documentos, y ahí hice un video sobre esto, y ahí les puse yo ejemplos, no opiniones, son facts, son cosas del gobierno. Ahí dice claramente en el gobierno que prácticamente California está dando licencias que tienen más tiempo de lo que deben de tener y que tienen que revocarse. They have to be revoked, right? So ese es el primer paso. Se dieron un chingo de cartas que las mandaron en noviembre 6.
Sí, se las
Se las
mandaron a
mandaron.
todo mundo. No quiere decir que te
Sí.
estén hablando a ti, güey. Es lo que tiene que entender la
So, so,
gente.
después, las cartas las mandaron en noviembre 6. Esta pausa que la corte dio entró en noviembre 10. Quiere decir que si noviembre 10, un ejemplo, la gente dice, oh, la pusieron en pausa. Oye, pero me llegaron las cartas. Sí, pero ¿cuándo las hicieron? Noviembre 6. Ok, todavía no estaba en efecto esto. O sea, todo está pasando muy rápido y ocupo que la gente tenga un poco de paciencia y está pasando muchas cosas muy rápido y todo tiene que calmarse para que entren en lugar todas las fichas, ¿me entiendes? Pero luego
Claro.
la gente, yo entiendo y no estoy criticando a la gente, yo entiendo que pues así como a mí cuando me dieron la noticia pues es un bombazo, no chingas su madre, ¿cómo? Y yo entiendo que se me desespera la raza, pero ocupo que tengan un poco de paciencia. Ahí claramente dice en los papeles que se van a revocar y se las van a dar para atrás a los que califiquen. Pero lo curioso. Dice, se las van a revocar y se las van a dar para atrás a los que la califiquen bajo las nuevas requerimientos que vienen siendo de la regla que acaban de poner en pausa. ¿Sí me entiendes? So,
Sí.
el papel dice que ya no calificas, pero la pausa dice que ya no vale nada esas nuevas reglas. Es una
Sí,
con
pero
otra, es como
también lo que le
confuso.
decía a la gente depende mucho por decir, tú ya hiciste tu parte, güey. Tú pusiste la demanda y hay una pausa. Agarra un abogado y ve al pinche DMV, güey. O sea,
Que,
y vas
que la
con
gente,
la pausa y el abogado va a hacer su caso, güey, se van a culiar y te van a
sí,
despausar,
pero
pero
más,
no quieren
mira, más
hacer
que,
nada, güey. No,
no,
la
pero
raza
más,
quiere así como que, ya dime si voy o no voy, güey.
no,
Espérate,
más que nada,
mamón.
más que nada yo pienso que se esperan como una semana, 2 semanas, o sea, para que todo, mira, es que un ejemplo, mira, si tú vas a un cajero, al de la ventanilla, ¿va? Ese vato nada más está siguiendo instrucciones de su supervisor, ¿va? Ellos no saben qué está pasando afuera.
Tiene que llegar el lunes, el supervisor los tiene que juntar
Sí,
y decirle, ¿sabes qué? Hay un pedo así, pero ahora, ¿y quién le está bajando la instrucción a ese supervisor? Ahora, si se aparece un pinche Héctor ahí mañana, que mañana fuera viernes, llego con un pinche abogado perrón, con una carta, pido hablar con el pinche gerente o el pinche el manager en ese rato de la oficina y le pongo una chinga, créeme que el lunes va a estar resuelto ese pedo, güey. Pero si tú como individuo no lo haces y te esperas que el Estado lo baje y luego el otro vato que tiene que bajarlo lo baje, es 3 pinches semanas, 4 semanas, güey. Pero nadie quiere gastar, nadie quiere leer, güey. Ni siquiera quieren leer.
So, yo mi advice, I hear what you say, o sea, escucho lo que dices, pero mi consejo es, si tienes 60 días y no quieres gastar ese dinero también, pues si te puedes esperar una semanita, mira, yo pienso, vato, yo pienso que en una semana se puede arreglar las cosas, pero es que los que están yendo
te juntas 10 cabrones que sean amigos tuyos con CDL y le pones 100 bolas y le pagas 500 bolas al abogado para que te acompañe.
Sí, o sea, sí entiendo lo que me dices, güey. O sea, de que le buscan, ¿no? Pero ya...
Pues, sí, manera, o sea, es lo que yo les decía en un video a la gente, le están metiendo la mano a la comida de tu gente, güey, el pinche culo.
Mira, yo, porque ya me tengo que ir a manejar, pero para resumir, la demanda ahí está. Yo lo que ocupo es que la gente no se me desespere y que luego empieza a decir que hay un proceso, o sea, no es tan fácil de tronar los dedos y que todo va a regresar a la normalidad. No, es un proceso, porque ahorita California los traen en chinga y ellos no la quieren cagar, ellos no van a regresar luego. Primero tienen que decir a ver si
California se va a hacer pendejo hasta que no haya una resolución, güey. Pero pues por eso son las presiones que te digo, si vas un día y te vas con otros CDL drivers y cada uno lleva un abogado, les vas a hacer un cagadero, güey, tampoco quieren demandas. Porque los puedes demandar por no acatar la disposición del juzgado del circuito, güey.
Eso sí. Pero ahí estamos, vato. I gotta start driving, so.
Gracias, carnal. Cuídese. Ahí estamos a la orden. Bye. ¿Qué tal con el camarada Rivera? Junior. Lo del framework te tiene que llegar un correo de Carrier 411 al correo que está en Safer de tu compañía y ahí va a decir, Junior. Uno tiene hijos para mandarlos a hacer casas y no vienen los vatos nunca. Los voy a ahorcar. ¿Quién más se sube live? Ya subió Jorge, pero ya se bajó. Tráeme uno de esos. Tráeme una de esas. Algo vas a querer. Y no te voy a dar nada.
¿Cuándo?
Cuando me pidas, no te voy a dar nada.
Pero los patines que tú me dijiste, ya no me los pediste.
Algo, me vas a pedir por Robux y no te
Mi papá
es
un estafador incorrupto.
Órale, tráemelo en el bote. Órale.
Mi papá es un estafador.
Apúrale.
Mi papá es un estafador incorrupto.
Apúrale.
Corrupto.
Voy a ahorcar este vato. Semi Analytics. I'm busy, bro. Estuve leyendo en un video ayer, jueves 13 de noviembre, otro falla. ¿De qué, carnal? Explícame.
Papá, ya no hay.
Sí, en la caja.
Sí, yo creo.
No, sí hay, métele la mano. Métele la mano, sí hay. ¿Qué onda, Wilmer? ¿Eh?
¿Para qué quieres más?
Quiero una ya.
Ay, pa, ¿cómo que una y ya? Mira cuántas ya te
Está bueno, ya no te voy a comprar. Ya.
Entonces no me compres nada.
Sobres.
Y ya no te voy a dar nada. Corrupto. Maligno.
¿En qué país está más baja la... ¿En qué país está más baja la pena por ahorcar un hijo? Como ando, yo ando al cienazo. Ando al 100, ando casi al 100 porque ya llevo 5 botes, me falta uno para andar al 100. Se fue la reina, sí se fue. Vamos a invitar a Gloria. ¿Qué onda? Felicidades por la plática, estuvo bueno. ¿Sí la viste completa? No. Eso es todo como debe ser. La plática estuvo muy buena hoy. No puede ser que sea viernes a las 9:20 p.m. y yo siga trabajando. Estoy echando los botes, ¿verdad? Entonces no es tanto trabajo, pero sí. Bueno, dudas de transportación, si no para irme. Si ya nadie tiene una duda, nos vamos. ¿Quién es esa señora? Acá. ¿Cómo es correo que llega? Dice Carrier 411. Te notificamos que tal broker está poniendo este reporte contra tuya. Viene el reporte y te dice que si quieres contestar en 24 o 72 horas. Entonces vete al correo tuyo de Safer, el que tienes en el DOT, en el FMCSA, y te vas a la búsqueda y le pones Freygar o le pones Carry 411, pero sobre todo Freygar, y te va a aparecer si tienes algo. Sube una cubana para emocionar la plática. Sí he querido, anda una cubanita aquí, pero ella no ha querido, no se deja. Ya empezaste a usar iBuba, sí, yo lo uso hace tiempo. No logré todo. ¿A qué horas empiezas? 8 de la noche is time. Explícalo no lo de Fregar. Cuando te pone un Fregar un broker, te llega un correo al correo que tienes en FMCSA. Entonces, si no lo viste y se te pasó, te vas a tu correo y le pones buscar y le pones Fregar o le pones Carrier 411 o el nombre del broker que crees que te lo puso y te debe salir. Si no te mandaron nada, una, o no te pusieron el fregar, o dos, hay otro correo en tu Safer dado de alta y ahí te lo mandaron. Regularmente la gente que hace autoridades pone sus correos, que eso está mal. No, ¿qué rollo con qué? Los reyes no suben, no van a subir ahorita. Es un tema económico, güey, no hay consumo. Pero la próxima es correcto. Es correcto. ¿Por qué California manda cartas de cancelación aunque la ley está en las cortes? California mandó cartas de cancelación antes de que la corte hiciera el stop. Ahora, California no quiere pedo, ya se metieron un pedón. Ellos no, a menos de que la corte diga que no, no te van a mandar otra cosa. Se están curando en salud, como quien dice. Justo me pasó hoy. ¿Qué te pasó hoy? JS. Bueno, si ya no hay más preguntas, ahora sí ya me voy. Muchas gracias por estar en el live. Les voy a decir una cosa, sinceramente, no hay un curso de despacho que le gane a este. Pongan a quien quieran, tráiganse a quien quieran, díganle a todos y todas las que venden curso de despacho que me la pelan. Es lo que es. Entonces, no, pero sinceramente sí, no hay nadie que traiga el conocimiento que les vamos a traer. Y no soy yo solamente. Hay más gente que vamos a traer que está involucrada en la industria, que tiene mucho más conocimiento que yo en ciertas áreas, como se los dije. No hay nadie que se compare, no hay nadie. Hay una señora cobrando $500 que porque tiene 20 años en la industria, ha trabajado desde su casa para ella y su marido. Esa no es experiencia, güey. ¿Por qué la gente, no sé por qué la gente es cola ratón y se quiere quedar ahí para siempre? Es la lista de su colonia, la lista de su cuadra y ya. Hay que validar tu conocimiento, hay que salir afuera. Hay que medirte. Mídanse, raza. Porque luego, como eres bien chingón con tus dos amigos que no saben nada, el día que te vas a otro grupo, ya vales madre. Es lo que es. Salgan al mundo. No tengo clientes bajadas, Dallas. Tengo algo en hueco, pero no suficiente. Pinches bajadas, luego te las quieren vender bien baratas. Y cuando te digo bien baratas, luego le hablas a clientes y te dicen, sí, es que este broker me lo haces por $4.50. ¿Tú cuánto me ofreces? No, hombre, no mames, ya no hay manera, güey. Los cursos de despacho prácticamente solo enseñan a usar el Word, pues eso es lo que está mal. Esas mujeres no saben de lo que hablan. Es que, fíjate, hay una cosa bien fácil. Sale una muchacha cubana, ella, y dice, mira la carguita esta hermosa que acabo de agarrar en este logboard. ¿A poco no soy una chingona? Uy, y hay 100 comentarios. La mejor dispatch, la mejor dispatch. ¿Quién es el chingón? ¿El dispatcher que la encontró en un board? ¿O el broker que la buscó fuera y te la vendió con madre? ¿Quién es el chingón? Vámonos desde ahí nomás. Pues ella nomás la vio ahí, habló antes que alguien más, pero hubiera sido ella o alguien más. No hay nadie más bueno. Es una carrera a ver quién marca primero, güey. Entonces, suerte. Entonces, no me puedes decir que la suerte va pegada con ser chingón. Es lo que es. Pero es que yo estoy aquí pegada, viendo, quemándome las pestañas por ti. Pues es tu trabajo, güey. Entonces, y te digo, y está bien cabrón, porque luego ves 100 gentes diciéndole, eres una chingona, despáchame, por favor. Despáchame. Por eso digo que no enseñan a buscar shippers directos. Pues si no saben. No saben. ¿Cuánto cuesta tu curso? Nada, yo no vendo cursos. A mí me va bien, suficientemente bien. No soy rico, sino me va lo suficiente para mantener mi vida sin vender curso de despacho. El día que me vaya mal en la vida, que no tenga ni para comer, me vas a ver vendiendo curso de despacho. Ese día. Cuando digo lo suficientemente bien, pago luz, agua, comida. ¿Crees que es que nadie te puede enseñar a buscar shippers directos? Son habilidades de venta, esa es una. 2. ¿Tú crees que si supieran buscar shippers directos no se hicieran brokers? No saben cómo. Y luego utilizan pero tengo tal. Hoy una señora dijo que ella daba sus cursos en $500 porque ella tenía 20 años en la industria. Señora, 20 años en la industria y sigue siendo dispatcher. Algo está mal. El otro gordito, yo tengo 12 años y sé cómo ganar mi dinero. Tienes 12 años y sigues trabajando desde la cocina de tu mamá. Algo no cuadra. Pero si das cursos, no doy cursos, estamos dando ahorita un curso gratuito los viernes a las 8 de la noche, East Time, aquí en TikTok en vivo. Sí los damos. Ya vimos la clase 1, vimos que es un driver, que es un dispatcher, que es un broker. Clase 2, hoy tuvimos un masterclass de regulación. Así le llamo a la clase de hoy. Masterclass de regulación. Vimos quién está regulado, por qué se regula, qué necesitas, Qualification File, drug test, entre otras cosas. Y luego va a salir otra muchacha, pero yo sé hacer taxes y vender seguros. Sí, mija, está bueno. No voy a decir nada, güey, no te pedos. Ok, me las perdí. Entonces todos los viernes hay que estar pendientes. Sí, pero también puedes ir. A mi canal de YouTube. Héctor, tu primer camión en YouTube. Y aquí te encuentro las clases. No tengo tantos videos. Fíjate. Yo lo que hago. Yo lo que hago es. Busco videos de gente que es experta en mi materia. Y los viernes, los sábados, que me echo un six. Abro un six y me pongo a ver YouTube de ese cabrón y me chingo todos los videos. Y vas a aprender, te lo aseguro, porque aquí en YouTube aprendes cómo despachar. Así nada más meterte al logbook y despachar, aprendes ahí. Ya están las clases ahí, no necesitas más. Échate todos los videos. Y si te echas todos los videos, me pruebas que te echas todos los videos y no aprendes a despachar, te regalo $100. Sobres, ahí está el compromiso. No te regalo $100, te regalo la suscripción al DAT 3 meses. ¿Cómo ves? Sobres. Pero tienes que mostrarme pruebas de que te echaste todos los videos de mi canal de YouTube y con todo gusto. Vale, sobres. Va. Deal. Bueno, ya no hay nadie para invitar. Ya es tarde. Ya estoy diciendo sonceras. Ya me voy. ¿Alguna pregunta final? Ya voy. Hola, Orantes Trucking. No hay preguntas finales. Hoy no vino Ana. ¿Dónde andas, Ana? Bueno. Es normal, carnal, durante el truco. Bueno, yo los dejo. Ya no chingamos aquí 1:30. Gracias. Hasta luego.